Welcome to Speaking Describe Image, the introduction session. So let's go ahead and learn what this particular question type is about. So it's a very interesting question type. There's an image and then you have to describe it um, by looking at all the key information that's contained in that image. Okay, so we'll look at the basics, what the question type is about, and then we'll also look at what are the things that we should keep in mind to score well and what all can we do to get a good score at this. All right, so the very first thing that you should remember, uh, there'll be 6 or 7 questions of this type. Okay, you have to understand the image and then you have to explain, you have to describe what that image is about. So in the beginning, there'll be 25 seconds to understand the image. So in those 25 seconds, you should look at the key elements, so which will tell you what are the key elements and how, and you should be able to prepare a response, at least the skeleton or a structure of the response in those 25 seconds. And then after that you'll get maybe around 40 seconds to respond, so sometimes 35 or 40 seconds to respond. So as soon as you hear a tone, that means the microphone has opened up and that you should start speaking. So in those 40 seconds you have to give your response, you have to describe that image. So this is what the question screen will look like. At the top you'll see the question description, which just tells that look at the graph in 25 seconds, speak into the microphone, and then you have 40 seconds to give your response. All right. And on the right hand side, you will see your audio status bar. So it will tell that the record when the recording will begin, and it will tell how much time is there for left before the microphone opens up. So always keep an eye on this status bar, right? The the very first thing you should notice is what's the kind of image that they have given you. So they can give you a graph, they can give you um, a picture, a diagram which shows some kind of a scientific or another process. They can have a table, um, all right, and they can have graphs of different kinds. They can have pie charts, all right, and they can also have some maps, etc. So essentially, any picture that can contain some information, you can possibly find it in your exam. So it might even be just a simple picture showing a city or showing some people, okay, and then you just have to make up a response on that. All right, or it can be a graph with the x, y axis, number of lines, and all of that. So the very first thing is you have to notice, you have to note down what it is about. So the test, it's about your speaking ability mainly, that you are able to understand, by looking at things, that what the main information is there, and then you are able to speak in a way that conveys that important information. Okay. So speaking with a purpose and speaking in a way that the others, they are able to understand what the key elements are there in that picture. So that's important. Okay, so someone if looks at a map, all right, um, I mean they can give, anyone can speak, right? Anyone can say this is a map, this is a big map, it's very complicated. Okay, but it doesn't convey any useful information. A good response will be when you tell, what are the main areas of that map, what that map shows. Is it the map of a city, which city, or which country? All right, and what other information is contained in that map. So that differentiates a good response, a useful response from a useless response. Okay, so every day in your, everyday life, when you go about looking at things, try to uh, in the back of your mind, keep this criteria, keep asking yourself, am I able to understand what this is about, or am I confused? And if I have to tell someone or explain this to someone, will I be able to bring out all the important ideas, all the important areas? Okay, so do that, practice it with your friends, with your family, all right, or just If you look at a picture in the newspaper, before you go and read the article, just quickly in your mind, for a few seconds, see if you can, tell to yourself what it is about. And after that, look at the article and verify what you have understood. All right, so that will help you a lot. So as the slide says, the speaking ability mainly, but it depends upon your ability to comprehend or your ability to understand visual data. Okay, so that's important. Now, these are the things, some of the things that you should keep in mind to score well. So the very first thing, uh, your response, it should be structured properly. Okay, you can't just say that 75% of the income comes from agriculture sector, and then in the end say that this graph is about the income distribution. So it has to follow structure. So the structure is that in the beginning, give a general overview of the image. Tell what that image is and what it's trying to say. So say that, identify, what the type of that image is. Is it a graph? Is it a map? Is it a table? Is it a diagram? Is it a chart? So identify that and say in the beginning that this chart, or this table, um, or this graph, and then tells what it does. So in the graph itself, you'll see the title. So sorry, in the picture, you'll pictures most of the pictures, they'll have some title. So that title will help you to identify what it is about. Okay, so look at the information that's there in the title. Look at the x and y axis, or if there's any key that's given in an image, look at that. So that will help you understand what that image is about. All right. Don't just repeat what the title is. So if the title says that income distribution in the country, don't just say that this graph tells us about the income distribution in the country. Look at, what it's trying to say. So sometimes you'll have two lines in the graph. So if there are two lines, it means that, it's comparison. So say that this graph compares the income distribution between two countries. Okay? So try to use those words which are rich in information, which tells what the actual purpose is. So the purpose of an image is not just to, show something, just to be there. The purpose is either to compare, or to describe, or to highlight, to emphasize. So use words like that, okay? And we will cover, we talk more about this in the masterclass sessions, which I hope you have already taken. And also there are some downloads for you in the end, in the templates and tricks sections. So take those, and using those, you will know how to prepare a general overview of the image, and you know how to prepare a structure for your question type. After that, what you have to do is you have to mention all the main points. All right, so main points means that uh, all the important pieces of information that are covered, should have been highlighted. So for example, if there's a graph, right, and it has lines going on for 20 different countries, then you can't cover 20 countries in 40 seconds. So then the main countries are the ones at the top and one at the bottoms, right? So the ones which um, have scored the highest or have scored the lowest, those become your main points. So mention all the main points and draw any comparisons. Okay, um, if there are different lines given, or if there are different sections or areas of a map, then probably you can draw some comparison. You can compare one to another. So if possible, do that. Then point out key highlights. Key highlights mean, uh, you'll notice if it's a graph, for example, you will notice that at some point of time, there might be a sudden decline, or there might be a sudden rise in the line. So that shows you that something important happened. So that's a key highlight. Okay, so do that. And in the end, try to draw a conclusion if possible. So for example, if you see that there was a sudden drop in the graph, then maybe you can try to guess that. Okay, and you can draw this based upon your information. So you can say something like, it looks like that there was a um, shortage of rainfall in the country that year, because of which the agricultural production fell down uh, so much. The other thing is that uh, in this type of question type, so you have to speak naturally. And when we speak naturally, we do hesitate, we pause sometimes. So if that happens, don't panic. It's all right. Just keep speaking. All right, and keep your eye on the timer. All right. So within that timer, if for example you're describing the different lines and you suddenly see that the time only 10 seconds are remaining, then you can quickly just go to the main points and then try to draw a conclusion. So you should have that flexibility in your mind while you're framing your response, and try to make some notes. So the first 25 seconds, organize them. In those first 25 seconds, tell yourself that this is how I'm going to open up the answer. This is how my general overview will be. I'll talk about these two main points, and this is how I'll draw a conclusion. Okay, so that really helps a lot because then you won't get lost while you're speaking. All right. So with that, you are now ready. Yeah. So please start and go to practice set number one. All the best.